made a bunch of friends that way. And then it's kind of carried over into this year. And now they're in their second year, they have like a community that they start housing. Get like 10 people that, hey, we all get along. They start to house you in the same dorm area. Made a bunch of friends that way. So, and then it's kind of carried over into this year.
And it will run in the background. You are live. I'm sorry. I guess I'm gonna want to get to one. No. Okay. Oh. Having a rough day.
Make sure you set your coffee on before you come back.
We are.
That JB downstairs.
That must be Steve's out with surgery. So
It's Ray Stevens.
So I'll just email that to you now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Professional attorneys.
my mom and dad.
Look tired. So you could get home early. We moved it up an hour. How long is your drive?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I've got all that. It's nice. I want to hear. It's kind of a process title.
No, you're fine. We've got Jean. Jean. You guys know that Ryan's driving wrestling, so he'll be here, but it might not be right at 5.
Okay, so is that segment on that?
Yeah, it's an item. Yep, and I know the guys are coming. He's already made contact with that. I just texted, I'm hoping he's driving back now, that's why he didn't respond, but
Okay,
he knows he has to be here. He just is in charge of driving wrestling.
good.
I'm leaving at 5:40.
okay.
No, I don't.
during the last meeting.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now that we're here early, I can come, but leave at 5:40.
Yeah,
You guys do what you need to do.
sorry.
Sounds like. She crashed the Julie's and come up. I'm like, you're gonna have some water. No, no, no. She's just auntie. She knows my structure. I was like, wow, lady. I wasn't, yeah, I thought you would told me to say so. I was trying to get ready with more of a.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Why gotta go twice? This place.
This one's for reference and this one's for notes.
I prefer multiple screens too when I'm doing stuff.
It is live. It's live recording. And then it'll just.
That's what I want, and I told her.
All right, everyone ready to go?
I wasn't sure.
I'm up, yeah.
Thinking about if I needed to, should I record it? Theoretically recording. I will, well.
Ready to go? Okay. It's 5 p.m. So we'll call the monthly school board meeting to order at this time. I'd like you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Second that.
We
I
got
think we need to make one amendment. Carson is for special appearances and I don't think he's here yet. Oh.
No, he might have been running late, but he made
Okay.
it, so we're good to go.
So Kelly and then Katie.
Yep. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Katie. All those in favor? Aye. Before we move on, dive into the next part. Just a show of hands, who is going to take advantage of the comments from the public this evening? No one?
Just
One.
One, okay. With that, just when it comes to comments from the public, everyone's allowed to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Each commenter shall identify by the commenter's name, place of residence, and whether they have a student currently enrolled in the district and or understaffed person in the district. Comments must be directed solely to the board and or the designee and must not address other members of the audience during this part of the meeting. The board during the public comment period will not discuss the agenda issues raised by the public commenter, but may discuss such agenda items at the conclusion of the public comment period. All individuals who comment during the public comment period are reminded that the information provided this evening is intended to provide information to the board so that it can fulfill its role. In receiving public comment, the board encourages the commenter to engage in civil discourse that models character and ethical behavior. In that vein, all parties are reminded that all information offered be truthful and honest. False statements or stigmatizing charges may subject the individual making such comments to legal repercussions, including but not limited to defamation claims. Other specific procedures for the public comment period not mentioned herein can be found in the board policy which we have a copy of on hand if anyone wants to view it. That being said, feel free to introduce yourself and take the floor.
They almost need an attorney to speak. Holy cows.
So if they're in this room, you can't.
Correct.
So I can use faculty
Uh,
using a name, is that correct?
you can say faculty, just not a specific name.
Gotcha, okay. I'll muddle through. All right, Wendy Kozlowski. I am a Siren resident. I do not have children in school.
Thank you, Wendy.
So I have been asked to speak on behalf of the victims that have been sexually assaulted in the 5th grade. I will start with November 1st, Friday. There was a circle meeting with the 5th grade class. During this time, the children were supposed to say something that they didn't like that the perpetrator was doing to them, with the perpetrator in the class with them. Say what? And then from there, the victims are taken into the computer lab with the perpetrator again, in the care of certain faculty members. I mean, come on. Why are these victims being questioned in front of their abuser and still no notification to parents or police? This is unlawful, inappropriate, unacceptable, totally negligent conduct by this school. So let's talk about when the parents were notified. Monday, November 4th, 4 days later. One of the parents was not notified until Tuesday, November 5th, and not by the school, but by the police department. But let's talk about how the police department were notified. They weren't. A parent just so happened to call the police at 3:31 p.m. on that Monday after the school finally notified that parent of the sexual assault. She called the police to inquire about the situation. They had not been notified of any incidents. I mean, what is happening here? The misconduct of this is off the charts. I am sickened as to how this has been handled. From day one, when the victims came forward, we all want to know why were parents and police not notified immediately? Why were the victims and the perpetrator in the same room from that point on? The perpetrator was also escorted into the school with his parent following this, the day or so after, for one of the victims to see him in the hallway. In one of the meetings the victim had with a certain faculty member, that faculty member proceeded to tell that victim that the perpetrator himself is a victim too, that there's reasons for his behavior. So this is how this gets handled and communicated to a 10-year-old child that's been sexually assaulted. Wow. Way to be re-victimized by the very people that are to protect you. So why, too, have there not been any professional independent counseling services offered to these students? A parent requested an incident report from a faculty member, and they were told that there wasn't one. They only had notes. Why was there not an incident report? Where is our administrator in all of this? From A to Z, this has been handled so inappropriately on every level. And because of that, we are not just dealing with a perpetrator that has sexually assaulted our children. We are also dealing with the negligent faculty that has re-victimized our children. Shame on you. We do fire drills, tornado drills, bowling lectures. Where are your protocols, people? But we can have sexual assaults with zero notification to parents and police. Zero incident reports, zero protection for our children, the true victims, zero counseling for victims. This is far beyond mishandled, folks. This place, this school needs a shaken. It's been a long time coming, because let me tell you, I had 4 of them here through this school district. And this is total proof of that. This is far from over. In fact, we are just getting started. Legal counsel is being sought. And I thank you.
Thank you for your time and your comments. It's appreciated. Any other comments from the public at this time? No? Okay, oh, who?
Wayne Cobal, Siren. I do not have children in the school. I do have 3 students that graduated. I'm a former teacher, former administrator. I can assure all the people in this room that situations like this are awful and very, very difficult to deal with. And I just hope that all of us can take a step back and think through whatever we think or say, because a lot of people could be potentially harmed by this. I just want to caution you, be careful, think this through, take your time, don't jump to conclusions, and base your decisions on facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Would anyone else like to engage at this time?
I'm Sarah Brewster. I'm from Frederick, Wisconsin. I have 2 kids at this Siren school, and I just want to point out that I have personally had also issues in the elementary where protocol wasn't followed, and it was way minor, much more minor things, and protocol wasn't followed at that point either. So there's anything I'll put in.
Thank you, Sarah. Anyone else? Nobody else at this time? We appreciate everyone's input being brought forth. Obviously, we cannot make any commentary on any investigations that are going on at this time, but we are taking everything very seriously, and everything will be looked at accordingly that needs to be. I know that might not be a lot of solace for some of you, but we are doing what we can. So anyone from the board want to make any recommendations based on comments at this point?
I recommend we look into the policies.
Okay. So we'll definitely send some of this to policy council and have them start looking into it. And yeah. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Student achievement, Ryan Karsten.
I brought some of my football guys that made the all conference. Some of them are in practice and haven't been here. But this year for football, we had a successful season. Gentlemen, stand up, please. I brought 4 of them with us. We were 7-2. We made the playoffs for the 6th straight year. On defense, we had 5 members of the team make on all conference. First team, Joe Wilchard at linebacker and Joe DeJock at linebacker, who are both at wrestling practice. Second team, Jerome McGeejic, Blake Knoll, who was at wrestling practice, and Gannon Reynolds. On the offensive side of the ball, we had 2 first team members, Gannon Reynolds at quarterback. He was also the offensive player of the year in the conference, and Jerome McGeejic. Second team all conference was Joe Wilchard at running back and Josh Taylor at wide receiver. And honorable mention was Paul Reitman at wide receiver. On top of the all conference nominations, both Gannon and Jerome were all region. that is the best players, 11-man or 8-man in the state of Wisconsin. They were recognized by the WFCA. Both of them were put up for All-State and All-State honorable mention. That information will be released later this week. So they have the potential to make those lists as well.
That is awesome. Congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you very much for informing us of all their achievements, Karsten.
Good, all right.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Really
Congrats.
appreciate it. Keep up the great work, gentlemen.
Or the right room.
All right, moving on. Treasurer's report for October 2024.
Make a motion, we approve the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Peggy, seconded by Kelly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. As far as president's correspondence goes, I just wanted to thank More for Kids. The Treasure Island play was awesome. Love all those opportunities that our kids get to experience the arts in different ways, and it wouldn't have been possible without More for Kids. So I really appreciate that. Just a reminder, basketball season is starting into full swing, so show up and cheer on the Dragons.
Wrestling.
And wrestling, yes, wrestling, sorry.
And hockey.
And hockey.
And gymnastics, maybe?
Maybe gymnastics, yeah. But yeah, get out there and help support the Dragons or the Bulldogs, isn't it, with wrestling?
Yeah, and the Blizzard.
And the Blizzard, yeah.
Yeah.
Synergy.
Thank you. There, I
Synergy.
couldn't get the
Yeah,
name.
that's right, they changed the name, but
Bulldogs is youth, high school and middle school.
reports, superintendent.
Okay, you wanted, I'll be brief. I did put a list in there for you. The other thing I wanted to mention, once the administration gets through their cycle, I can bring back more.
Yeah.
Just wanted to touch base basically on what's been happening at this point in time up until now. Of course, you know, the referendum was a significant priority. Took a lot of time, very time intensive working with that. The annual meeting, budget hearing up until this point. The basis for every month of what we do is the three committee meetings, budget, policy and buildings. Then the research, communication, whatever that takes for the board, then to the regular meeting. So that's a consistent governance piece that we work on specifically every month. Also working from the human resources piece, working on our liability and property insurance renewal. And right now that's creating a lot of research and paperwork because they're looking at a significant increase, and that's in January. So we've been working very significantly on that in addition to I think I did it. We're looking also at the health insurance renewal, which will be coming up in January as well. We're also, I didn't put it on here, but we're also going through a S&P global rating assessment right now, and that takes a lot of very much research and annotation on things that we've done financially in the district. So right now, up until this point, referendums, meetings, insurance renewals are what we've really been focusing on at this point in time. Also, we had just had the annual meeting and the budget hearing. I attend regularly the Rotary and Chamber meetings on a regular basis, and I'm following up with Laura on the audit. We're still waiting for the audit to come through here, and then there's a lot of policy development still in play right now as we move forward. As you realize, in time, I've been in contact with you quite a lot recently over different things. Very timely, time sensitive, so. You have a complete list in front of you there. I just want to touch on a few things.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin.
And you can reach out with any questions as well. The other piece to this is the fundraising request that's in here. Just once again, informational for the board. So you can look forward to that coming.
Looks good. All right. Reports from principals, Mrs. Herman.
I was just going to let you know that the Christmas concerts and the dates are
Okay.
upcoming, so December 12th. K2 is having their program from 1:30 to 2:15. And then grades 3 through 5 is 2:30 to 3:20 with the band also playing their first little concert. And then December 20th, we have the pre-K sing-along at 3 p.m. We have an upcoming family event. Last year, our masked reader was wildly successful. We're hoping to plan something as fun and exciting as that. So our next family event will be on January 30th. And our theme will be superheroes. So stay tuned for more action related to that. And then CISA 11, I have on there curriculum coordinators. I wanted to let you know that I was asked by CISA 11 to sit on the curriculum coordinator advisory committee. And that I would be helping to provide ideas and feedback for curriculum coordinator meetings at CISA.
Excellent. Yeah, I know the mass reader was a huge hit, so. Be awesome to do something similar again. Ms. Campbell.
So in an effort to start talking more about data, our plan was to share the state report card tonight. However, it is embargoed until tomorrow, so that didn't work out. Tomorrow though is when it goes public. And so we'll have more about that in the future. But we just thought we would share a little bit about some ways that we as a staff use student data and how we use that to make data-driven decisions in curriculum and instruction. And a lot of this happens through our PLCs, which is professional learning communities. So our core teachers, middle, high school, and then the elementary staff all meet on a weekly basis to discuss teaching and learning. There's 4 basic questions of a PLC that they address each week. Being what do we want students to know specifically? How do we know if they know it? So looking at assessments, and then what do we do if they don't know it? So if they didn't get it, and then what do we do if they already get it or they get it really quickly? So how do we help students learn if they didn't the first time, and how do we help advanced students become even more advanced? This helps to lead to data-driven discussion and decision-making, and part of that process is creating guaranteed and viable curriculum where we're going through and prioritizing the standards. I have Jackson Gerber here who's going to share from a teacher's perspective how this looks. But basically each year the forward data that we take in several different grades for several different subjects, we get a ton of data, but then what do we do with that? Well, CISA, someone in the CISA 11 makes this very massive spreadsheet that has every category and test and subject. And basically I can download a GRF file from the DRC Insight, which that just means it's a graphic reader. It's a big data document, and then I can import it into the spreadsheet that helps segregate it into the standards. So we can look at every grade level that students take forward tests, and then it breaks it down by every single standard for every subject. And then we can also look per student, we can look per standard, and lots of different ways. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackson Gerber, who's here to share you from a teacher perspective, basically how that benefits our professional learning communities and this guaranteed and viable curriculum.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. So for those of you that don't know me, Jackson Gerber, middle school, high school social studies teacher. Just to kind of give you a scope at how many standards we're dealing with when we're looking at prioritizing standards. So in the social studies specifically, there's 6 different strands of subjects in the social studies: inquiry practices, behavioral science, so talking about psychology, sociology, economics, geography, history, and political science, which is more civics. There's 26 total standards within those 6 strands. And then there's 64 total sub-strands, which are standards within the standards that we have to look at. And then those are broken into 4 different age groups. And then within those age groups, those same standards throughout are just the performance indicator, what they have to achieve is slightly different. It gets a little bit more rigorous as you get up into the grade levels. So for social studies, we're kind of working on new standards. New standards were adopted in May of 2018. However, the state didn't start testing on those new standards until the 2022 forward exam test, which is the test they take every year. Which basically gave the school 3 years to implement those new standards. So, right now, we're looking at the third year of those, standards. We're looking at, data that we can use. So, the forward exam is pretty important to us as social studies teachers because it's really the only test that we get data from. We don't have the CERT test or the STAR test or any of those yearly tests that, a lot of these teachers can utilize to look at data. And to make it even harder, social studies is only taken 3 times in their school throughout the school year or throughout their school career. In 4th grade, 8th grade, and then as sophomores in high school. So there's a really small sample size for social studies there. So when we're looking at that data on the spreadsheet, we first look at how they did hitting those overall benchmarks. First, are they approaching, developing, meeting, or are they exceeding those benchmarks? First, we look at the social studies test in general. And then we break it down into those 6 strands. And then we look at what standards the students are actually being tested on. We have that data for us. Unfortunately, the state does not make it easy on us because with those 64 total sub-strands of standards, there's only, I believe it's, Jamie, you can speak to it, is it 40 questions total for the social studies test? So some years it's a very geography heavy test. Some years it's a very economics heavy tests. It varies year to year. So then we look at how those students do on each standard that was tested, and we determine where our strengths and weaknesses are as a school. And if we're seeing that we're struggling on a specific standard, how can we go into the questions of the PLC? How can we improve that, to make it better in that standard? And then if they are consistently meeting those benchmarks on that, what are we doing correctly that we can maybe implement into other standards? With the third year of the forward data, I think it's going to make it easier to determine which standards that the state deems as important, based on which standards they've decided to include in each test. For the first 2 years, looking at it last year, it's been, did they just decide we're only going to use these 40 and then we're going to use 30 of the same ones and then switch it up with 10. So going back and looking at the 3 years of data, we can actually see consistent which ones they believe are important. And we also have student specific data in the, there's a tab called the Student Standard Performance Index that tells us how each individual student does on, or in the specific disciplines. And then it can even break it down into specific standards, and it even breaks it down into specific questions. So if they did poorly in a specific discipline, what can we do for that specific student? All of this is basically, once we deem what's important, both to the state and then us as a social studies team, we can begin vertically aligning those standards. The state sent out a new recommended scope and sequence for K-12 social studies back in October of last year. It's a very, very civics heavy lens, or it has a very civics heavy lens to it. And the state says it's up to each individual school district how to determine what they teach. But knowing how the state operates, the standards that they've chosen to be in that recommended scope and sequence will more than likely be the ones that are in the forward exam in probably 2 to 3 years. So we use that data as well to kind of think, okay, not necessarily teach to the test, but how can we incorporate a lot of those standards in our instruction there. So, and then all of that using the new social studies curriculum that was bought at the end of last year, using the ESSER funds for both 6th through 8th grade. We've got Discovery Ed, which is really nice for those middle schoolers, and then the McGraw-Hill stuff that we bought for high school. Brand new textbooks, really nice. They're utilizing them already in some of my classes as well. So essentially, we just use all this data to determine what standards are important and then how we can squeeze them into 6 years of social studies that they're required to take from 6th grade until their junior or senior year, whenever they decide to take that 3rd social studies course in high school. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for all the information. Moving on to Special Education Director.
Yep, so ACT is coming up in March, between special education and 504 eligible students. We will have 10 that will be applying for accommodations. And those will be submitted when I come back from Thanksgiving break. The other piece is our post-school outcomes. So every 5 years, we have to participate in the state making phone calls to our special ed graduates to see if they are in school, if they're in the workforce, making sure that they're meeting certain eligibility criteria. We choose to participate in our non-required years. And for 6 years now, we have received some funds through the transition incentive grant. For the graduation year 22-23, so the phone calls would have been made in June of 24. We had 6 of 12, there's a typo on my report, students that were contacted that they were able to reach.
Yes.
One did not meet eligibility criteria. However, 5 students did meet the eligibility criteria. And we will be receiving a check of $4,738 in June for special ed programs. So
Excellent. Good to hear that they're still those students making their way out in the world. Moving on. Language grant from Tara.
Tara couldn't be here this evening, but you see the award letter in there,
Mhm.
and I just got a comment. She has been really on the spot each year achieving and receiving this grant. So just kudos to her, and this, I've shared this, I think this might be my 3rd time that
Yeah.
I've shared this, so.
Do we know what she put in for this year? What the funds were for?
Usually, no, not specifically.
Thanks, okay.
Kevin, can I comment to that? Or is that not legal?
I guess in what capacity? Sorry.
I know from working with Tanya Huntington in the elementary,
Mhm.
part of that language grant helps pay for Tanya to come in another day.
Mhm.
And she works specifically on Ojibwe with students on Fridays.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that info.
Can I just ask, this is just petty, but so it's dated September 20th, and I know our meeting was the 23rd, so you maybe didn't have it then. Is there a reason why this is being presented this month versus last month?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I was
That
just
was
curious.
her
Sure.
choice, and I.
Why see- Oh, wait,
Yeah, I mean.
like the money or the
It
letter?
goes- No, the letter. It goes to me,
Okay.
and it goes to her, and so.
That's good to know. Thanks, Laura. I was just looking at the dates and just kind of curious, like, should we have gotten this? I mean.
It comes as an attachment in the email. I think, I don't know what the email date was, but the date on the letter is not the same.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Good to know.
Thanks, Laura and Kevin for the clarification. Thanks, Tim.
The great grant.
I
Yeah.
think she buys some like beading, like some of the kids
Yeah.
do a lot.
I just know if there's a big one, like when we
Did
built
the
the
classroom,
classroom,
yeah.
Right.
there was a
And that may have
bigger
been a
project.
I can have her speak to that
Yeah.
too.
Sure.
She just couldn't be here this evening.
That's fine.
Moving on, approving school board meeting minutes for the October 28th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Katie, seconded by Kelly. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
have a comment though. Peggy is not listed as present and she was at that meeting. Also,
For which one?
this regular school board meeting, you were there, were you not?
October
This was from October of this year.
this year.
I know, but it says present. All of us are listed, but Peggy is not listed. Peggy should be listed as present.
Oh,
Present. I
present.
thought you said
Sorry.
president too, and I was like, wait a
Present.
second.
Sorry, yeah.
So
I was-
Peggy just needs to be added as present, and then just for clarifications. On J, I think she should remove. The hire for Dino Ustigov, I think she needs to remove the 7th or 8th grade, because on the J it says 8th grade boys. I think it's just. In case we ever have to come back to it, just for clarification, just remove the 7th or the 8th and just leave it as he is the 8th grade per that heading. That makes sense what I'm saying? It's like I would say, just remove
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah, 7th or 8th.
Just in case we have,
Just
I
cross out
know there's
seven.
times we've had to come back to these,
Cross out where it says 7th or 8th.
and yep, that was only my 2. Otherwise, I'm good. Just wanna make sure you got credit.
You're.
Okay,
If there was nominating stuff, so I just know when we've had to bring them to other board meetings and then it's confusing going, well, Peggy voted for this, but she wasn't present. So,
All right, convention delegate 2025.
So typically, if we attend the convention, every district usually selects a delegate. And kind of what that means is they don't get the opportunity to really go to the breakout sessions as much. They spend most of the time in the delegate assembly. Each district is just required to name somebody. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go there, but for example, one year we had somebody who was very interested in impact aid and they went and they proposed a motion and wanted to get language put in there. So you can be as active or as inactive as you want at that, but they do vote. The school board association does vote on different proposals that come forth. So every district is just expected to select a delegate. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to attend.
All right. Anyone interested or any nominations?
You know, if anyone is planning to attend the
When is it?
January.
January?
Tentatively, I think there are some that want to attend. I'm just not sure how the budget is gonna work out.
So it would be okay if you selected a delegate and then.
We should,
Yeah.
I'm just saying we should pick someone who has an intention to.
Right.
Versus someone who has no intention.
I nominate Peggy.
I'm not going because I'm gonna be done.
Never gonna be done. That sounds good.
I know I hope to be able to go. I think,
So I'll nominate Tom.
Are you able to go, Katie? You want that?
It does limit you though, Tom.
I know that's the problem.
Kind of stuck.
Yeah.
on that.
I am able to go, and we had discussed in the budget committee that the funds are probably just not there to send anyone this year. Like, we can look at an online viewing option.
We did
for
budget
later.
for it, so we can have further discussions.
Yeah.
We did budget for it. We're just.
Well, I
Being
nominate
conservative.
Katie if she's wanting to go as the delegate, and then if Tom's able to go, it gives him more I don't know.
It's a
If that
tough-
makes sense or
it's-
not. It gives you more flexibility to go to something else if you want,
Mhm.
and Katie, but then I don't know. I don't know what I'm signing Katie up for. Maybe it's something she
That's
doesn't
just
want.
it. It's like everyone wants, breakouts and training and
So
stuff
you
like
still
that.
get to go to some of the breakouts. I've been to these a few times, but there are like 3 separate sessions you have to attend as a delegate if our district wishes to vote on the amendments that are being brought up at that particular session. Now, we don't even have the amendments yet.
No.
So those do come out in advance and we can look at them and say, well,
Right.
some of them kind of affect our district
But
and
if we
some
list a
don't.
delegate, then it'll go to that delegate.
Correct.
Right.
They'll get the whole listing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you want the honor?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
All right, I make a motion to nominate Katie as our delegate for the convention. All those, got a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Congratulations, Katie. Won't be the first time. Okay, graduation requirement change, computer application.
Now, we did talk about this at policy. I don't know. Jamie, you wanna
Yeah,
elaborate a
it
little
really
bit?
should say computer education instead of application. The computer application is the class that most kids take to complete the computer ed requirement. So I'm just bringing it to the board to think about whether or not we still need this as a grad requirement. It is not a state requirement, it is a local requirement. It is my understanding that it was something that came about many, many, many years ago, when computers were just becoming more prevalent and necessary for kids to like learn the basics of Microsoft Word and Office and those types of things. Computer applications is not actually the only class that does meet this requirement. Kids take other classes. But we're just looking at the future and the fact that kids use computers every day in every class from even very early on. So I don't know that it feels a little redundant or outdated to have this as a specific requirement. It can still be offered and it can still be available and kids may still choose to take it if that's their path in life. But I don't know that it's necessary to continue having it as a specific graduation requirement. Also because it kind of reduces our flexibility for classes and with teachers and that type of thing, licensure, things like that.
Is this something policy should talk?
We
take-
already
Oh, we already did.
We did
Okay.
talk about it policy and basically, we do agree that to put it as a requirement, could probably be gone by the wayside. However, we strongly encourage to have a class of the similar vein move to the middle school because they need to know how to use these programs better before they get to high school. So that's kind of what we propose is if we eliminate from the requirement, we want to see something in the middle school too. Because one of the complaints we've had from some high school teachers is that they get to high school and they still don't know how to use the ins and outs of the programs. And then they're having to show them until they can then finally get them to do the assignments or teach them what they want to teach them.
And is
So-
this a half credit or a full credit requirement right now? And is there a suggestion as to what would replace that half credit
Well,
requirement?
it would just be more elective. I mean, the number won't change, like it'll still be 26. So the formula would just be that they would take any elective or CTE class to reach the 26.
Which most of the kids have enough electives anyway to cover that.
Yeah, and I mean, kids may still take it and we may still have it in some capacity or another, or some of one of Mr. B's classes covers this requirement as well. And so some kids take that. It would make it more flexible for kids to kind of choose. And if a kid by the time they get into ninth grade is already pretty proficient in Word and, use Google, but if they're already pretty good at those programs, they may not feel that that's, where their time is best spent.
So would this be for the next graduating class?
Yeah, it should be for the next.
So it would be for
yeah,
the 25, 26.
starting that year, yeah.
We need to take a vote, like. It was policy's recommendation then to drop the requirement and
Yes.
just move it to middle school. Yeah,
Yeah,
move a class offering of some kind at the more middle school level.
so I'll make the motion that we drop the half credit requirement for the computer class to graduate starting next school year.
I'll second that. Yeah, 25, 26 school year.
Yep, starting for the 25-26 school year. Motion by myself, seconded by Kelly. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Moving on, workers' compensation, Jensen Sundquist.
So you can see this in here. So several years ago, we had, Liberty Mutual was our workers' comp carrier. And they were giving us some difficulty when we went for our renewal, and they said basically, look, if you guys can go out and find a better deal than what we've offered you, please do. So we did that, and we went with Johnson Sundquist, and they've been it's been very good for us. You can see it's a minimal change in the premium, and we'd like to continue to go with Jensen Sundquist on the workers' compensation.
I'm sure somebody can't comment on this, and that's okay.
I can answer a question if you have it, but I will abstain from any voting.
Right.
We need to vote on this?
Anyone have questions in regards to this info from Jensen Sundquist? It shows was a difference of, well, it's not much.
And rarely do we see increases that minimal unless it's zero. Yeah.
It's roughly 1,600, I believe, if I'm reading that right. So looking for a motion to accept or to continue to work with Jensen Sundquist for workers' compensation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Jamie, seconded by Eric. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Tiffany, please note that I abstained from that vote.
It's in here.
Thank you.
All right. John Deere skid steer.
So we had a discussion. I don't know. Do you have the document? Do you have the document in front of you?
We have a quote.
Okay,
5
yeah.
pages.
So I didn't have it in mine here, so I have the paper copy, but
Yeah.
basically, And Eric, you can weigh in on this too. Basically, what we discussed was we have the option to trade in for a brand new one at the same cost, same payment that we're paying right now. We felt
What was it? Half the payment?
it was, but I thought we were gonna go ahead and, so technically it's half the payment, but the committee decided, and you can jump in anytime. The
go ahead.
committee decided that they would honor the current payment by making double payments, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we just said, if we can, we make a double payment.
Just pay it off
If we get tight, then we don't make the double payment, you know?
So
Pay it off as soon as we can.
this is a skid steer or a tractor? Cause both
a
are
skid-
listed.
It's skidster.
Okay, cause this just says John Deere compact tractor, but maybe that's what they're called, compact tractor loader, cause skid steer is
Yeah,
owned by skid steer, maybe?
I talked about that at length at the meeting, and that was what was on the quote, but that's not what, and then Dan did all the legwork on this. He had proposed this last year or several years ago to continue to do this. We just weren't sure how. It almost seemed too good to be true, so
Yeah.
we just feel like at this point
Well, it
in
looks like,
time.
yeah, they're giving a pretty good discount too. So we're trading in our current
Yeah.
skid steer, John Deere skid steer. Okay, and getting
Which
a new
Dan
one.
found out they haven't been taken care of the right way, so.
Oh, we haven't been
Yeah,
maintaining it?
Whoever was before Darren wasn't maintaining it the right way. So that's why he wants to clear it one
okay.
before it gets issues.
Well, I'll make the motion. We
A second.
accept this bid and
All right, good call.
so motion by myself, seconded by Eric. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Post. All right. Now we've got meeting calendars. So budget and finance. See on here it has December 16th. How does that work for you?
4:15?
4:15?
It says 4:30. Too bad Katie can wait in.
And I think I have to take tickets that night, so,
The earlier the better?
yeah.
Okay.
So I can do 4:30 if you need to.
I don't know, I'm just saying that's.
Oh, you won't be there that night?
No, I can be, but I
I think
have to
earlier,
leave
so I
to
think
take
4:15,
tickets.
for
Oh.
4:15.
And I'm not sure exactly, I think the like 4:30.
Let's put it for 4:15 and we'll see if Katie's has a issue with it after.
Okay.
So budget committee at 4:15 on the 16th. And then buildings and grounds. On here, it's got Thursday, the 12th. Eric's the only one here on that one. So we'll just put it at that for now in case
Does that work for you?
Yep.
So that's also the day of the kids' concerts, but the kids will be done with their concerts by 3:30.
We have done that before
Yeah,
at this meeting.
yeah.
I don't know if we need to move it back a little bit later, but typically they're done. Is that right?
Have to leave.
Ms. Herman, you know, if.
Or
Like, we have a
John
meeting
gets
at
the buses
3:30.
leave.
Yeah, they were be done by like 3:20, the Christmas.
I know a lot of
concerts.
parents take their kids, so.
okay, so we'll go buildings at 3:30 then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
And we will need policy. I'm just not sure when you wanna.
we're getting there. All right, yes, policy planning and curriculum. So what works for you, Kelly? What works for you, Jamie?
Give me some dates, Kelly or Tom.
We're doing our board meeting the 19th.
Yes, that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay.
I mean, after, yeah, that's what's been proposed.
Yep. So I can do that Monday, Tuesday. That's fine. That works for you.
Do you wanna do we can either do the 16th at,
Okay, it's not gonna work for Kevin, though. He's got
Oh,
his
yeah.
tour tickets.
what about the 17th?
Will we what is that? It's an away game at Turtle Lake, the 17th. Yeah, right here. It's the 18th
No,
of
it's
Wednesday.
The 17th is a Tuesday.
Well, if we have it early enough,
That's on this side though. I know I've always gotten these wrong too. That's why I pulled up this one.
How early do you need to attend the game?
would you be able to do 4? Did 4 work?
Will we be able to do Wednesday? Wednesday would work better for me if that works for you guys. I think I have practice scheduled with my team on Tuesday at 3:30,
I can do Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay, what time on Wednesday?
whenever, 4:15. Is that fine for?
Yeah, 4:15 would be better.
4:15.
Let's go with four
So the
fifteen.
18th.
Is that, is that gonna be any issues with having our regular meeting the next day? I mean.
I don't think so, no.
Just.
I mean, if we do have policies to come forth, we still have time.
Yeah, we've got, yeah, we have time technically.
Policy. So we're doing that. At 4:15 on the 18th, okay.
And then the 19th, we have it scheduled, the monthly board for 5 PM right now. That still work with it for everyone at this point?
Is everybody clear on why they wanted to do that?
Yeah, but the playground, we'll be getting our final bids in and then we can get them approved before the end of this year to get them up and going for spring. So that's why the date change, in case anyone else is wondering. All right. Whoa, looking for a motion to approve the bills from the cycle 10/29/24 to 11/15/24.
I'll make a motion to approve the bill.
I'll second it.
You have a motion by Kelly, seconded by Peggy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll make a motion. Oh, you have to do the whole thing first.
Yeah.
don't you?
At this time, I'm looking for a motion to convene in the closed session under Wisconsin State Statute 19.851 C, E, F, G to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, considerations of financial, medical, social, or personal information, and to confer with legal counsel who has learned during oral or written advice.
Kevin, can I contact you for consultant information?
Yes, just let me,
Yeah.
my friend is just landing in Hawaii.
I was like, oh, like 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jean, you have to do it.
Then I have.
Can I make a comment about one of the closed session items
You
or how to?
wanna just tell me?
Yes, so Jill's not here and it was brought to our attention after we were here the other night that not everybody is in agreement and aware of it. So we are meeting tomorrow as an SEA. So I'm assuming that's why Jill didn't come.
They were just gonna look at scheduling a meeting, they just.
Okay.
Table
Right.
half an hour, or should we still schedule?
We're just scheduling. We're just scheduling. Yeah, we're not meeting about.
As long as it's not.
So we're meeting tomorrow, so I don't know what's.
Yeah, we're just
happening
getting the
for tomorrow.
board all abreast of what's going on.
Yeah.
Speaking on anything
We're not doing
because
that
I'm-
tonight, no.
Yeah.
Or- No, no.
Not comfortable with that either right now.
No. Oh, Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good night, Tina.
Okay,
So-
somebody make a
I
motion.
make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion by Kelly, seconded by Peggy. Jamie, take the roll.
Peggy,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Jamie, yes.